First and foremost, I'd like to give all praise to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rukal Double honors to the elders and apostles, great millstone who teach this truth and sincerity. And a shout out to Yakims out there in 4 quarters of the earth proclaim this truth. Brakatha Yahweh, Brakatha Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rukal Brakathum. And so I hope this is edifying as you know that shit's about to go down in the next 5 or 6 months, and the mainstream is now speaking it. So here's one of the preppers, and what are we doing as Jakes? Because of course we're not going to be buying guns and all that shit. No, what we're preparing for is to meet the Most High and to get our house in order. That way, when he comes, we can be beamed up on the chariots. The rest are going to be caught in World War III, martial law, and so on. So here we go. Here's another guy telling people to get prepared.
This video, right here, right now, is probably the most important video on YouTube. If you are watching content that is not telling you to prep, you need to stop watching it, and you need to learn how to prepare and how to survive. Now, I am not a survivalist. I was in the Army. They taught us to shoot. They taught us combat maneuvers. They taught me my job. They didn't teach me how to prep. I wasn't special forces. I wasn't taught to live in the woods. So prepping's new to me too. Okay, so I'm learning. I'm not telling you to learn from me. I'm telling you to start watching content that is teaching you to prep. This is the most important video you're going to watch today. The Department of Homeland Security has released a report saying that Americans need to start prepping. You need 6 months of food and water, and you need a way to protect it. This is what's happening. This is the #1 threat to America. Now, as you know, I've been in contact with Dr. Richard Pryor on Twitter, who is with the EMP task force. Wow, I couldn't get that out. Who is with the EMP task force with Homeland Security. I've spoke with him on Twitter. The historians, Mr. Patriot, the one message they have for all Americans is to be able to survive with nothing for 6 months. You need food and water and ammunition. If you do these things.
So, there you go. Pretty much, because Esau's going to stick to his guns while we're just going to be prepared to meet the Most High in the air. That is Yahushai and the angels. And like I said, angels have been compassing the camps as well as the chariots, which is the way angels do compass the camps. And sometimes you might see an angel face to face, like another brother did when he was watching the game. So they are watching, and the things we need to be prepared for is our house spiritually in order. Is there anything that's holding us back from Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai? Is there any last thing that we need to repent of? Because that's the only way we're going to get delivered from this one. Make no mistake about it. Between ICE and ISIS, man, that devil is there. And we do have our people in Syria as well, because we're scattered among all the nations. So these terrorists are coming after us. And so, there's more tensions at the U.S.-Mexico border, which, of course, Esau's creating these things.
The death of a 7-year-old Guatemalan girl while in U.S. custody on the U.S. border with Mexico is raising questions.
Yeah, this devil wants to kill you. He's coming at you with everything.
U.S. Homeland Security defending Border Patrol agents after a child died in their custody along the U.S. border with Mexico. That story now from AP's Rita Foley.
The 7-year-old girl from Guatemala was found with her father and dozens of other immigrants near Lordsburg, New Mexico.
And they're chipping them. You can best believe that, too.
And apparently had not had anything to eat or drink in days, according to federal officials. She had a fever of almost 106. U.S. border agents airlifted her to an El Paso, Texas hospital where she died. Homeland Security Secretary Kirstjen Nielsen offered her sympathies and told the Fox News Channel's
fucking devil doesn't even want to play. Yeah, fuck Fox. Anyhow, you know as well as I do that this devil's coming in with guns blazing. That's what they're doing to prepare for the shit hitting the fan. But wait, there's more. Now you got, in Syria, you got the Free Syrian Army, which is the terrorist that Turkey runs. Which the United States and Turkey, which is Gomer, used to have a deal for these terrorist groups, because that's how they started this war against Syria, the War of Terror. So, take a listen here.
The European Union Foreign Policy Chief has asked Turkey to stop its planned military operation in Syria against U.S.-backed Kurdish militants there. Federica Mogherini said the EU is concerned about the possible offensive. She called on Ankara to refrain from any unilateral military action that risks further instability in Syria. On Wednesday, Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan said that his country is launching a new operation in Syria within days against the Kurdish People's Protection Units, or the YPG. Any Turkish military move against the YPG would be rather complicated by the likelihood of Ankara's army coming face-to-face with U.S. troops. Turkey views the YPG as a terrorist organization and
they're all terrorists
from the border city of Manbij.
Anything with the United States is terrorism. Because you know that ICE and ISIS, they don't sound too different, but they're the same terrorists. But wait, there's more. Here's what's going on. It's uprisings of the people here in France, who also wants America out of the EU, the UN, NATO, the beast. So who do you think's causing this civil uprising? Of course the United States, the Israeli state, is causing this uprising there. Because that's what they do. That's how they got shit started in Syria. So you think this devil that creates chaos ain't going to do it here? Now DHS is telling people that they better prepare. Of course, because the government plans to take it away from you anyways. Of course they do, because they want you on that chip. And wait, they're starting more shit over here with Ukraine, saying that Russia is...
Heightened tensions between Russia and Ukraine.
This is a false flag. They're saying that Russia attacked.
The ongoing destabilization of Ukraine by Russia, exemplified by Moscow's seizure of 2 Ukrainian naval ships and 23 sailors on November 25th in the Kerch Strait in the Black Sea.
Russian forces seized 3 Ukrainian naval vessels in the Sea of Azov off Crimea, the territory Russia forcibly annexed in 2014. Moscow claims these are Russian waters, but a 2003 deal between Moscow and Ukraine agreed the Sea of Azov would be shared. Ukraine warns its Black Sea ports are being cut off. A bridge built by Russia linking it with Crimea now limits the size of ships able to navigate the Kerch Strait. The aim is to change the facts on the ground, part of the Kremlin strategy of stress testing the West, says the co-author of the Strategic Survey report, Nick Redman.
Testing tolerances, probing for weaknesses, getting a measure of the resolve of other states by acts that are generally aggressive but are below the threshold of something that would obviously require a military response.
The crisis did not emerge from out of the blue. Analysts say it is the culmination of more than 6 months of growing Russian pressure on Ukraine, in contrast to 2014, when Russia surreptitiously sent, quote, little green men, unquote, in unmarked fatigues to Crimea, an integral part of Ukraine, as a prelude to its illegal annexation. This time, the Kremlin's forces acted openly under the Russian flag. In response to this aggression, Ukrainian President Petro Poroshenko introduced martial law for 30 days in much of Ukraine. He also announced a partial call-up of reservists for training, saying the country needs to beef up its defenses to counter the threat of a Russian invasion. Ukraine and Russia have traded blame for the naval incident, which has further escalated this tug-of-war that began in 2014 when Russia annexed Crimea and backed separatists in eastern Ukraine. Ukraine says its ships were operating in line with a 2003 treaty with Russia, envisaging free navigation for vessels of both countries in the Sea of Azov and Kerch Strait.
So there you go, you know, and this is going to escalate. But wait, there's more. Here's what's going on in Syria. And the Israeli state has been hit in Syria for quite a while.
The Syrian armed forces will respond by force to any Israeli attack on its bases as a part of a new policy which was adopted by the Syrian leadership following the incident with the Russian Il-20 plane last September, the Kuwaiti Awari newspaper reported on December 15th, citing a high-ranked Syrian official. The unnamed official clarified that this means that a strike on an airport in Syria will be met with a strike on an airport in Israel and so on. According to the same report, Moscow gave Damascus a green light for such actions in response to attacks that would destroy the Syrian military capabilities or kill foreign advisors supporting the Syrian Arab Army (SAA). The source denounced Israel's claims regarding the destruction of the Syrian missile capabilities and claimed that Damascus had received medium and long-range missiles guided with the Russian satellite navigation system GLONASS. The report says that the SAA can use these missiles to respond to Israeli attacks. Meanwhile, media reports appeared that an Israeli military delegation, which recently visited Moscow, complained to the Russian side that Hezbollah in Syria uses Russian flags to defend its positions and military convoys from Israeli airstrikes. The cover-up flags were reportedly seen in positions of Iran and Hezbollah in Hama, Homs, Idlib and the Central Desert. A week ago, Colonel Mustafa Bakol, a spokesman for Jaish al-Isra, made a very similar claim. According to Bakol's claim, Iranian forces in northern Hama are raising Russian flags over their positions in order to protect themselves from Israeli bombardment. The most interesting question is if Israel was really able to identify these positions and was sure that there were no Russian service members there, what difference did the presence of these flags make? US officials have threatened the Free Syrian Army against participating in the upcoming Turkish military operation in northeastern Syria, the Turkish Anadolu Agency reported on December 15th. In a message allegedly sent to different FSA factions and to the National Coalition for Syrian Revolutionary and Opposition Forces, Washington vowed to strike any group that would participate in the attack and to end its relation with it. During the last few days, opposition sources confirmed that factions of the Turkish-backed National Front for Liberation and the Syrian National Army are ready to participate in the upcoming operation with more than 15,000 fighters. In turn, the YPG expanded its operation against Turkish-led forces in Afrin. Over the past few days, the YPG claimed that it had killed 5 Turkish soldiers with an anti-tank guided missile near the village of Kimar, blown up a vehicle of the Sultan Murad division in the village of Kastal Migdad, killing 2 militants and injuring 2, as well as killing 4 and injuring 5 members of the Sham Legion near the villages of Derziwan and Nebi Houri. On December 15th, the US-backed Syrian Democratic Forces, with the YPG at their core, vowed a strong response to any Turkish attack, claiming that Turkish actions are undermining the SDF operation against ISIS in the Hajin area.
And you know that this thing escalates as we know that they're going to keep on pushing the mark between this year and next year.